understanding whether he should fight or not fight. Right? So at that point of time, Krishna starts talking to him this philosophy where he starts with Sankhya in the second chapter of the Gita. And the Sankhya, he starts basically talking about the difference between the Atma and the body. Basically to tell that you're supposed to focus on doing your duty, and in the execution of duty, you should not bring in this bodily attachment. Because this is external. Because you're thinking that all these people who are here, they are their bodies, but actually they are not. So since they are not the bodies, you have to actually focus on your essential duty, which is a Kshatriya, and that is to rule and so on. So why do you bring this? So in that context, he brings this philosophy. So that's where he starts. Anyway. So yeah, so now another thing is, Sankhya basically also categorizes this body into two. So that means Sankhya doesn't talk about the body as one. Now that's again a little interesting. I'll explain it very quickly. So please remember, right now I'm only defining all the terms. So it seems that we are covering too many things without explanation, but don't worry, I'm quickly going to come back and start with the consciousness and kind of explore all this in detail. But first some definitions, and then we explore each of these concepts in detail. Okay, so as far as the Sankhya understanding is concerned, the body itself is classified as two. Okay, so one is called as gross and the other is called as subtle. Okay, so I'll just quickly bring up this. Okay, so we are saying three here, but yeah, so this body itself, this what I'm calling here as Prakriti or body is what you see there, defined as gross and subtle. Leave this for a minute, I'll talk about this a little later. But gross and subtle. So I'll again define these terminologies. So under gross as in what you actually see, smell, taste, touch, etc. And the gross body from the Sankhya perspective is comprising these 5 basic components of matter, which is what is called as earth, water, fire, air and ether. Okay, the order is important because as you come from here to here, the properties decrease. Okay, so I'll ask you this question. Earth has 5 properties of sensation. What are the ways in which earth is generally perceived? What are the 5 ways we perceive earth as? I can smell earth, like we smell a flower. So we see, smell, see. You can touch. Okay, so touch and feel is the same. Then you can taste, and also you can hear. There is sound. Okay, so basically all your 5 senses, that means sight, smell, taste, sound and touch, work on earth. Now when you come from earth to water, one property reduces. Please tell me only which one reduces. Smelling. Yeah, so water does not have a smell, remember. Of course sometimes in VIT or water has smell, but that is the smell of the dirt in it. That is not the smell of the water. Water as such does not have any smell. Of course water has a taste. The taste of water is there which... Yeah, water has a taste. It's not that water does not. The taste of water only actually quenches our thirst. When you're thirsty, you're looking for the taste of water. Right? So, smell is the property that is lost in water. When you come to fire, one more property is lost. Taste, yeah, taste is lost. Fire, yeah, there is no question of taste. There is touch. You touch fire, of course you touch. You get burned. You can hear fire. There is a sound of fire. Of course, if there is a huge fire, the fire has its own sound. It does have. And it has a sight as well. You can see fire. 3 properties. But smell and taste are lost. There is nothing like taste to fire. Yeah? I mean, if you put it on your tongue burns. That's not taste. Basically, there is no taste to it. You just burn your tongue.
There is smell of like something is burning, we get a smell.
That is the smell of the earth. That means if I burn this bench, I am smelling the wood. I am not smelling the fire. Remember that, yeah? Yeah, so we are smelling, but there is no smell of the fire. The smell of the earth that is burning. Because generally when there is fire, it's mixed with something, right? It's burning some entity, like a forest fire, the wood is being burned, the leaves are being burnt. That smell we are having, not the smell of fire. Okay, good. Then when you come to air, which property is lost? Sight, yeah. You can only touch and there's a touch of air. Like this fan is right now, kind of the air is touching and there is sound as well. When you come to ether, what is lost? No, sound is there. Sound travels through ether. Ether means free space. But touch need not be there. Without air, you don't. That means air is the property that is giving you touch. But in ethereal condition, there is actually no touch. But sound still is transmitted, right? Yeah. So basically, in the Einstein understanding, so basically it's vacuum, free space without air. Sound still travels through that, but there is no air in it. Yeah, it's like that.
There is something like ether, like scientifically there is something like ether and it's just a free space.
Yeah, I understand, because the whole problem is that, see, it's like this. There is space and there is air contained within space. So we are kind of slightly distinguishing these two properties over here. But as such in reality, I understand what you're saying, that within any domain of space there is air as well, in that sense. So it gets mixed up. Okay, now the thing is, hold on. Now, when you come to this entity, now this is very interesting. We start with this, mind. We all know we have so what is the mind? So how do you think people define a mind? So mind is a very well understood concept. So what do you think is the mind? Conscious brain, subconscious brain. So we have two definitions here. Mind is defined as a conscious brain and a subconscious brain. Anybody else? Conscience. Okay, conscience. Okay. Anybody else with any definition of the mind? Memory. Okay. It seems a little strange, right? That we all talk about mind, but please remember, it is not that only you all are confused about it. Even the big guys, everyone is confused about it. Since the time of René Descartes, that is the question which is being asked as to where is the mind. Or is there anything like a mind at all? This is the question that has plagued modern scientific understanding since 400 years. Please remember this. Yeah.
How do we distinguish between mind and consciousness?
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Because you've included it in subtle body.
Yeah, I understood. I'll come to it. So first we will talk a little bit about mind and then we will go ahead.
So what's the difference between mind and brain?
Yeah. So we'll come to that. So that's the real point that I want to start with as to brain experiment. So see, in the mechanistic understanding, so please remember I am using this very specific word, mechanistic understanding. Mechanistic understanding means in the understanding that the human body is nothing but a machine. The ultimate thing in the human body is the brain. Everyone agrees with that? Yeah, that's the ultimate entity that exists within the human body, the brain. So there has always been this question as to where does desires. Okay, I'll put up some things on the board. I'll grab this part. Okay, the Sankhya, I'll start with the definition of Sankhya for the mind, and then we will elaborate. We'll come to the brain, as she has already asked that question, and that's pertinent at this point. But the mind, the Sankhya defines as a storehouse. So by storehouse, you can maybe call it memory if you wish to, of thoughts, experiences, and desires. I put them all in quotes because it's again a challenge to really define them in the strict scientific sense. We all have, for example, thoughts. right? There are so many thoughts that the human mind is actually going through. So if you study psychiatry or psychology or anything, they say that in a day there are tens and thousands of thoughts that are crossing the human mind, even as you're sitting in my lecture. So please note, it's not that everyone is hearing everything that the professor is talking here. Not at all. So many thoughts are going by. Why did I join this college? Why do I have to suffer in this class? I had so many options. So many things are going through your mind actually, as you are sitting here. You understood? My mom has not yet transferred money in my ATM. I'm having difficulty. So many things are going on. So many thoughts are going on, right? Thoughts. Experiences. Experiences. Like for example, all experiences are stored in the mind. Good experience. Like you meet someone, we have an experience of dealing with that person before. That experience immediately comes. Even when you come to a class of a teacher, you have an experience of what this fellow has been doing since the last 2-3 classes. So there is an experience based on which you are sitting here, that this is what this guy has been doing, so perhaps he's going to do the same thing. He has been boring me to death, he'll continue to bore me to death even more. So you understand the point? There are experiences which are there, and there are desires. So desire is slightly different from thought. Desire is something more active. You want to do something. You want to eat pizza today in Pizza Hut. You have a desire for so many things. You want to download this music. Since a long time it has been in your back of your mind that on this site some song is there, you want to download and hear it. Desires are there. Okay, so this is how Sankhya defines the mind as. Okay, quickly I will define these entities. I'll come to the brain very quickly. So as I told you, I just want to make definitions because they are all connected in some way. Intelligence is defined here as that abstract entity which is there. Actually, these are not three different things actually. Just like here, earth, water, fire, air, there are 5 different entities. Here, these are not 3 entities. This is one body which has 3 functions. So it's slightly different. So I have written it like this. Please understand the point that these 5 are 5 distinct entities, whereas these 3 are 3 functions. So the mind. So the functions of thoughts, experiences, desires are called as the mind. The function. Please note the word I am using. The function of discrimination. Discrimination is referred to as the intelligence. Discrimination as in we are always doing what is called as deciding whether to do something or whether not to do something. Should I attend the lecture today or should I just bunk it? Should I, right? We are making all these decisions. Should I take lunch at 1 o'clock today or 1:30? We are making these decisions constantly. So the discrimination which is there in terms of whether I should do something or not do something, that function is called intelligence. It is not a separate entity like earth, water. It's a function. Ego means the function of attachment and association. There is attachment and association. Like for example, we are all having certain attachments to, our country. Like we say that I am an Indian. We identify very strongly with that. And within that we identify, okay, I'm not just an Indian, I'm from such and such place in India. I'm from Rajasthan and, I'm a Marwadi or whatever, So we have various associations and attachment which we very strongly identify with. You get it? So these, and basically we think ourselves very strongly to be that. Because of which if somebody questions that or does something, we actually get offended sometimes. So that's why it's called as false, because in some way it is related to the external body. But still our attachment is so strong to it that we actually identify ourselves with that. Though perhaps we are not that. That's why it's called as false. So these are the functions of the subtle body. Now besides this, we have this entity called Atma. I'm not going to talk about these two today. I'm not even going to define it now. We will come to these definitions of these two later. I'm sorry I shouldn't put on this slide, but for some reason it is there over here, ignore it. So the only one property of the soul which is there, which we already said, is the consciousness. And by consciousness, as someone defined it, it basically means to be aware. And to elaborate what awareness means, it is nothing but the ability to think, to feel, this is like an elaboration of what it means to be aware. That means the ability to generate thoughts, the ability to generate thoughts, the ability to feel, and the ability to will. These three are, I hope, very clear. I'll give some quick examples. The ability to think as in to think independently, to come up with new thoughts and ideas, to feel emotions, to feel happy, sad, to feel frustrated, dejected, depressed, despondent, to feel, and to will, to decide actively that I will do something. So like every human being or every animal basically wills and does something. So these are all symptoms of awareness, and that's what consciousness is. So this is how our basic definitions are. So now we'll just take one more example and then we will go more into details. So this example is an example from the Upanishads that talk about the entire thing, where it speaks of the body as a chariot. Like a chariot goes from one place to another, the body moves from one place to another. The 5 senses are compared to the 5 horses, because the 5 horses take the chariot. Similarly, my eyes, my nose, my ear, my tongue and my skin actually allow me to go from one place to another. If I didn't have any of these 5, I would be limited in my motion. The mind is compared to the entity that actually brings them all together, the central entity to all the senses. So basically the mind independently has ways to see, smell, touch, etc. Right? Like if you see, for example, the taste. So taste is not actually, in fact, all desires are in the mind. Like for example, let us say someone has a desire to drink alcohol. That desire to drink alcohol is not in his tongue, it is in the mind. It is the mind that is having the desire to do it. And this is just an external instrument. To give a simple example, the body could be compared to a computer hardware, whereas the subtle body, that is the mind, could be compared to the software that actually uses that hardware and does things. And the person using the computer is compared to the soul. That means the person who is actually doing something on that computer. Okay, so that's a simple example. So the mind basically gets these things together. The intelligence is compared to a driver, because the intelligence discriminates and gives direction, saying that abhi yahan jayenge, wahan jayenge, we will go here, there. It makes all discriminatory choices, and the passenger is compared to the Atma, the soul, the main person for whom this entire thing is existing. Okay, so this is the model. So now with this model we start off all our discussion today. So till now I have only stated the axiom, please note. I have not given any more elaboration other than stating the axiom. The only axiom that I have stated is that the person actually, the Sankhya, I have just said Sankhya is dualism, and dualism means it talks about 2 levels of existence. One is the Purusha, the person, which is the Atma, and one is the body, which again is classified as 2, as external, gross, and a subtle, in terms of the mind. And I also told you that these are functions and these are actual entities. So only this much I have actually told. Okay, so now we will start one by one. The first thing we will take is the brain and computer example and try to understand on this. So the first thing to discuss is about consciousness. Okay. So the consciousness which we stated, the ability to be aware, is considered the primary symptom of the soul's existence. So now again, if you see from modern science perspective, or the modern understanding in general, though philosophers like Rene Descartes spoke about dualism, that's not by and large the worldview existing today. The worldview that exists today is singular. That is, there is nothing beyond the brain. So let's try to understand some things about it. So where is consciousness coming from? So please note, there are many experiments conducted in the domain of neurology, and I would like to start with some experiments to tell you about what people have been doing. So as I mentioned to you, in our current understanding, we see our understanding today is that the brain is the highest entity within the body, right? So neurologists have tried to experiment with the brain to see whether the brain is the source of desires. The whole question that everybody wants to answer is, where are desires coming from? Just like I'll give you an example. If I ask you to raise your hand, a simple activity, raise your hand. How does your hand go up basically? When does your hand go up? No. My question is, if I ask any of you to raise your hand, when does your hand go up? No, not you understand. When you want to. That means when you desire to. When you will to. You understood? When you will and desire. If you desire, I don't want to raise my hand only. Then your hand cannot go up unless they take your hand and pull it up. That's a different thing. That means I desire to raise your hand. You didn't desire. Right? So, when I desire to raise my hand, only my hand is going up. So, where is this desire originating? Does any of you know about it? Have you at least, do you know what is the modern scientific understanding of that? Anyone here? I'm asking you a very simple question. I'm asking you this question, a very simple question. That when you desire to raise your hand goes up. And when you don't desire to raise your hand doesn't go up. So my question is, where is this desire originating in the system? What is the scientific experiments that have happened in this connection? Does anybody know about them? Okay, so we will start with that. Okay, so I am now going away from Sankhya into the domain of neurology. Okay, just hold on. Yeah. So there was this world famous Canadian surgeon. His name was, he passed away, that's why I'm saying was, Dr. Wilder Penfield. He got Nobel Prize in the domain of physiology and medicine. He's a Nobel laureate. Very big fellow in his field. So he was a master in this particular domain of, neurology. So what he did was, he did all kind of brain experiments in the quest for this answer. Which answer? Where is the desire coming from? So what he did was, please try to understand as far as neurology is concerned, today we understand which part of the brain controls which part of our body. You know that much? Yes or no? Just like for example, a person could meet with an accident and he could have a brain damage because of which his hand may not go up. You know that, right? Nothing has happened to his hand. His hand is not fractured. What has happened is there is a part in the motor cortex area of our brain which sends a signal to the hand. You get it? And when that signal comes to the hand goes up. So if